My name is Amy, I'm 23 years old and I've been on a 12-week placement at Dunoon Burgh Hall as an exhibition assistant for the Joan Eardley Centenary celebration. And I've been mentored by Jenny Hunter from Dunoon Burgh Hall as well as Madeline Fawn from Argyll Youth Council. And I'm also working with another placement person, his name is Jag. For the past 12 weeks I've been researching Joan Eardley and the specific artworks that we'll have on display. I've then been writing up the interpretation for the exhibition, so that includes object labels, it includes text panels and a general introduction to the exhibition for visitors, as well as planning any additional events that might help promote the exhibition. The reason I wanted to do this placement is because the focus was Joan Eardley and I loved Joan Eardley's artwork before doing this exhibition and I love it even more now. I always had a fascination with her art and I really wanted just to develop my professional experience in the heritage sector. I recently graduated with a master's and I just wanted to build up like a range of experience and work on all the different aspects that go along with creating an exhibition. For my master's dissertation, I looked at the materials used by Joan Eardley in some of her paintings, and this was a really good introduction into Joan Eardley's artwork, and I fell in love with her paintings and I really wanted to work on writing about Joan Eardley. The career path that I've got from finishing my master's has been working on different 20th century women artists who've either lived or been based in Scotland, and I think that's quite a nice perspective to bring to this placement, is the sort of contextual knowledge of Scottish women artists. During my placement, I researched how to write exhibition interpretation by visiting a lot of different galleries and museums, and I was sort of examining how interpretation is laid out, how does it guide the viewer or the visitor, how much does the visitor learn during the exhibition, what do they leave with, what's their experience of the art, and so I went in with all of those things in mind, and it really helped with writing the interpretation for this Joan Eardley exhibition. Another skill that I've developed during this placement has been designing the exhibition programme to go along with the interpretation. So that's involved thinking of ideas to engage the public with the exhibition, organising evening talks and launch events as well. This is something I hadn't really worked on before, so it was really great to experience that. Part of the planning that went into these exhibition events was reaching out to others who have been either involved in Joan Eardley's life or with her reputation after her death. And so we've organised a talk with Jan Patience, the famous Scottish journalist who's been celebrating Joan Eardley this past year. And we've also invited the Sampson family to come and talk about their experience of sitting for Joan Eardley as children, which is really relevant to the artworks that we have on display at the exhibition. And so it's just been really lovely to actually hear from people who knew the artist personally and had a connection to the artist. So part of the placement involves helping with the installation of the exhibition, which means I'll be helping actually hanging the artworks and helping organising the layout of the exhibition space, which is really exciting. This is again something I haven't really had much experience in before, but I would really like to build experience in this area. And yeah, I'm just really excited to give a little bit of input into how the interpretation and the artworks can be laid out together. It's important for me to be involved in the installation process because I worked on the interpretation of these artworks, and it's really important from the viewer's perspective to understand what they're looking at and understand the artworks a bit better, which is why the interpretation and the layout really do need to go hand in hand. I think opportunities like this are really important because it gives young people the opportunity to work on projects they might not necessarily have been exposed to. It lets them develop new skills and it lets them have an input in something they might not otherwise have had the opportunity to do. The experience I've had has been really positive. Everyone's really supportive and is really enthusiastic about having placements on board as well. But the team I've worked with have been really great. Like personally, they've been very understanding, and it's also quite flexible in terms of working hours and working days. But as long as we've kept up in regular communication, it's all gone really well. I think this placement has definitely helped me in looking for what to do next. I definitely want to have a career in the arts sector, in the heritage sector, and I really enjoy being able to work on different aspects of the exhibition process and find my footing in the different skills involved and realise what my strengths are. And so I'd like to continue working in this type of work with exhibitions.
My name is Naoko Mabon. I am a curator in contemporary art and based in Auburn. And I am involved in this Heritage Horizon project through Rockfield Center. Rather than having a mentor, I am working on a project called Auburn Heritage of Colors, in which I collaborate with people. My collaborator is textile artist based in Auburn, Deborah Gray, and heritage volunteers at the Rockfield Center. We are trying to engage with young people at the Young Archaeology Club at the Rockfield Center. Why we wanted to engage with the Young Archaeology Club through this project is that there is a very interesting connection between creative practice and archaeology. And then another inspiration is that Hamish Henderson, who is a folklorist and activist who did the revival of the Scottish tradition, he described the tradition as a carrying stream, which is a constant stream, and if we translate the tradition he's saying is a heritage, and heritage not something dead or stopped or something only happened in the past. It's actually continuing, and engaging with younger people is the kind of only way to carry this heritage to the next generations.
Hi, I'm Deborah Gray. I'm a textile artist based in Auburn, and the main part of my practice is around dyeing with plants, natural dyeing, botanical printing, and so on. As part of the Heritage Horizons project, I've been looking at the heritage and origins of the plants that we grow in the dye garden, which we established last year at the Rockfield Centre. And on the 23rd of April, I'm going to be teaching a workshop, a family workshop, so that'll be young people and their families, on a couple of different natural dyeing techniques. I think it's really important that we can present natural dyeing not only as a heritage item, something that belongs in the past, not just as a historical practice, but that it is a contemporary practice. And I think it's really important that in order for that practice to continue, that it continues to be a contemporary practice, and it's not just about reenactment and trying to preserve something in aspect as a historical practice.
It's important to learn the knowledge already here. So that's why we are closely working with the heritage volunteers who have tons of knowledge of this area. And then, as I mentioned, if we think about this heritage as a carrying stream, then we really need a younger generation to make sure this stream going. I'm kind of in I guess that the middle generation. So my responsibility is that to listen to older generations' stories, and then make sure to pass on these stories, but adding my interpretation as well.
and by engaging with the younger generation to make sure this stream is not dead.
I'm Neja, I'm 24 years old. I've been doing my placement for the past 3 months at McDougall of Dunoon Preservation Trust, which is like located right outside Oban. It's the seat of the McDougall clan, so the house still exists there and the office is located just like in a small part of the house, so it's really cool. So how I found out about it was through my university. Like one of our lecturers shared the different placements that through charts, but this was the one that really appealed to me because I think this also connects to what I want to do in the future. I think I've always been drawn to like smaller regional organizations because I feel like there's enough people out there to work in like the bigger city museums. Like it really appeals to me to try and work in these smaller places because I feel like that's where I can actually learn and make a difference. I was involved in helping curate the temporary exhibition which was just launched on the 24th of March. So basically what I did was go through the archives and help to develop themes which were then chosen for the exhibition. The first 2 weeks I spent at Dunoon going through their archives of photographs and going through Hope's diaries and correspondence and things like that. Hope McDougall was a really important member of the clan before. Like she's the aunt of the current clan head, Murat. From the 1970s onwards, she just traveled to a lot of like the surrounding areas in like from Oban. She went to like a lot of the isles actually, not just the ones which are really close by, but to the ones that are like further away. And like what really interested her was like the local people and what they were doing, their activities like farming or like beekeeping, peat cutting, just the things that people were doing, and she would like take notes about their activities or like take pictures of them doing it. And what was really cool was that like in her pictures you can see that none of them are posed, like she's just like capturing them as they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. After that, from home, I kind of like was trying to see what themes I'm able to get from what I've observed, and then correlating it to research about women collectors in general, and then kind of putting it together to produce the introductory panel for the exhibition. And we had meetings online with the board members and with the museum staff, like trying to see what was viable and like deciding what the geographical extent of the exhibition would be. What's really lovely is that I'm actually going there next week to see the exhibition. So it's really like appealing to the local people because it's photographs from Oban and the surrounding isles. So I think it's very relevant to the people of Oban and the surrounding areas. Like they would love to see it because it's not just like Scotland, it's like that region. I did a lot of research about Scottish women collectors in the 20th century, which was also interesting because there isn't much out there, because I think most collections were of men and written about by men, so there wasn't much information about it out there, but it helped me to understand her motivations and where she came from, and then try to put it together in a way which was helpful for the local people to understand why we're sharing these images with them and what we're trying to tell them. And Catherine was someone who really helped me with this because I was struggling with how to tell the people what they should know without coming from a very academic perspective. So that was a lot of hard work, but fun. I think it's really important for young people to be a part of the heritage sector because it is the young people who then carry it forward to the next generation. And if I feel like it starts with education, like It's when you make it their own heritage interesting to them is when they think that, oh, like maybe I should tell this to the younger people. Like if they don't value it, then they won't really see it as something that they should be a part of. Like I feel like even though now more young people are a part of it, there could be an even larger proportion of younger people. But like what I saw growing up was that people didn't really care about history because it was like just taught in a very factual manner. But I think what's happening now is that people are talking more about like experiences and like stories which reach out to people rather than just like facts or events that happen. And young people not only like bring a fresh perspective, but they can share with the newer younger generation things that other people, the older people didn't really think was maybe something to hold on to. And if it dies out with the older generation, then it wouldn't reach the next generation. So it's the young people who are in charge of like sharing it with the next lot. So it's really important for them to not only be involved but also represented in the heritage so that it becomes more personal, which I think is really important.
Hi, my name's Sam McManus. I'm 22 and I'm an archaeology student at the University of Glasgow. At the moment, I'm doing my placement at Historic Kilbride, which is a multi-period ecclesiastical site 3 miles south of Oban. At the site, there is a 18th century Protestant kirk, which was built during the Reformation, or just following the Reformation. But prior to that, there was also a medieval chapel there. And the site also has important links to Clan MacDougall, as Chief Ian Keir MacDougall, who was a Jacobite rebel, is buried there. And following his burial at Historic Kilbride, there was a MacDougall burial enclosure built around his grave. And from back then to now, the MacDougalls have continued to be buried there. So it's an important site for that family also. So my placement has lasted for several months, and I've been working alongside Seymour Adams, who is the chairman for Friends of Kilbride, who has been helping me research for writing the tour. But also I've been working alongside Julie Ruddock, who is one of the trustees at Friends of Kilbride, and she has been helping me with the digital aspect of creating the digital trail around Historic Kilbride. I've been working to create a digital tour of 15 stations or important spots along the tour at Kilbride, and each station now has a QR code which visitors will scan to trigger an MP3 recording about the history of that spot within the site to give them more information, as tour guides aren't always available at the site. So having a self-led trail around Historic Kilbride is really important. One of the stations on the tour, it was an infant grave. It's just interesting because there's a tree that is grown around it. Liam is one of the trustees at Historic Kilbride, and he often gives the tours to visitors. The way he described it was the tree has grown around this grave of an infant, almost as though the arms are like cuddling the infant. And I just thought that was really sweet, and it's really poignant to think that such a small child was buried in this really elaborate grave. Taking part in my placement at Historic Kilbride has taught me important skills of how to deliver tours properly to the public, as my placement involved me writing the script for a tour of Historic Kilbride. I also had to make sure that this was written in a way that the public could understand it without having any previous knowledge of Kilbride. So to do this, I had friends and family read over it, just so that they knew they could pick up on points where I hadn't been clear enough before I submitted the final draft to Julie, who digitised this tour for me and added it to the QR codes. I also read archaeology reports and visited the site a couple of times to receive tours from Liam Griffin to learn more about the site before writing the tour, just so I had enough information to be able to deliver the tour in a way that was descriptive enough for visitors. So my plans after my placement are to continue my studies at the University of Glasgow as an archaeology student. I do hope to stay in heritage by taking part in other placements during my studies. And I hope that these skills will stand me in good stead for when I graduate. I think it's important to have young people involved and represented in heritage because it allows the old narratives to be challenged by newer perspectives. Because if you have the same person in heritage, the same generations in heritage, with the same backgrounds, the historical biases will always stand the same and there won't be any questions asked about history. So I think with the new generations being involved in these placements, it shows that not only are young people interested in this sort of aspect of history, but also that they can challenge things that are long-standing and maybe bring new light to aspects of history that haven't previously been questioned before.